Guys, we got Big Mike here. Mike, I'll open it up. This class about the same size as your last one. So you got about 35 kids in here that are, I think many of them sometimes are trying to struggle, just like every other teenager. They're struggling, trying to find the motivation to keep going and make sure that they're doing the best they can to make themselves better for tomorrow. But I appreciate you joining us, and if you just want to pick up where you kind of left off last one, or start all over and talk about your life and how you persevered.
Yep. All right. Hey guys. So like Coach said, my name's Big Mike. People call me Mike, Big Mike. Apparently one of my new nicknames here is the Iron Mike. So I have a ton of nicknames. A lot of people know me apparently. But I just want to talk to you guys for a little bit. I know it's kind of different hearing from somebody that's kind of like close to your age and has been through what you've been through recently, as opposed to, I guess, like an adult, because I know you kind of hear the same stuff kind of every time, and sometimes it can seem like a broken record. So I'm trying to keep it short and sweet, not take up too much of your time. But like I told kind of like the last class, just about my experience in high school. So going in high school, starting from 8th grade, I wasn't that big. I was probably about 5'8", 5'9" when I met Coach Davis. But I was 275 pounds, so I was like big, but not like big, And I've always kind of was hesitant to play football. I wasn't really kind of like an athletic kid. I mean, I started wrestling in 7th grade. But there's always that kind of thing in the back of my mind of, and my dad, he played for the Cowboys. He won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys in 1985. He was a free agent. He'd always hung around NFL players. He was friends with like Mike Vick. I go with Mike Vick to like arena football games in Baltimore. And then I'd meet Mike Tomlin and talk to him. I talked to him a few times. And been to a couple camps where he was at. So I've always kind of been well versed in the NFL world, playing football. So I guess in 8th grade, I kind of just gave it a shot. I was a terrible football player. They thought that I was like Michael Orr or something, but no, I was not very good. They put me at like left tackle. And I was very mentally weak going into it. Fast forward to, I guess, my freshman year of high school. I meet Coach Davis, and I mean he pushed me a lot. That's as much as I can say. But even then, I was still struggle kind of with that mental toughness. I really just wasn't all there in terms of that. And then throughout my high school career, I kind of dealt with a lot of injuries. So with my freshman year, I had to deal with a Liz Frank injury, which is the ligament right in between your big toe and your, I guess, middle toe. The ligament right there, I guess I like tore it or whatever. I'm not sure the specifics, but I had to get screws in my foot for that, recover from that. And then my junior year, I dislocated my kneecap, or my right kneecap. So that was something that I had to deal with. And then going into my senior year, thankfully I had no injuries, and I was able to be I think it was like second team all-district player. But through all those 4 years, I kind of that's why I was laughing when Coach said, sit down. You guys said, thanks, Coach. Because those little things that Coach Davis taught me, I still have those like little things. Like every time a coach tells me to sit down, I have to stop myself from saying the same phrase that y'all said, just because I've said it so many times. And so I had Coach Davis from my freshman year to my junior year of high school. And again, those lessons that I was taught by Coach Davis, I still take to this day. So what I'm telling y'all, that like even if it can get like annoying sometimes, I'm telling you right now, 4 years down the road, you're going to be wishing that you had more time. Because I definitely wish that I had more time starting with my senior year. I mean, the only reason why in my senior year that we made the playoffs after Coach Davis left was because we still had players doing that philosophy that Coach Davis is teaching y'all right now. And so it was mainly in my senior year a player-led team, because the head coach was not very good. And so being able to go to the playoffs with just players that believed in a coach that was a whole state away tells you a lot. about Coach Davis and how he is, not even just as a coach, and not even as a teacher, but simply just as a person. Whether you're playing football or not, he has had a great impact on a lot of lives. And I still talk to some of my high school friends about Coach Davis to this day. And I ask them about him, and they're always like, yeah, like even like he was like their history teacher, and he still had a big impact on people. So that tells you a lot about the man that you're with right now. One of the best men that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. But after my kind of like career in high school, dealt with the injury here and there, but I still wasn't, again, all there mentally. I had a big struggle with mental toughness, like talking about like in the weight room. I was naturally strong. I was squatting 600 by my sophomore year of high school. So it wasn't like a question of like, did I have the talent to play in college? But it was a question of did I have the mental toughness? So going in with my offers my senior year, I had a walk-on offer at Temple in Campbell, and I had a bunch of D2 offers. I went to a Princeton University camp, dealt with that for a little bit, and I got a whole bunch of D3 offers up north. Didn't really want to go that far from home, so I decided to stick it to D3 because I knew that I was going to be able to play. So I was stuck between Hampden-Sydney, Randolph-Macon, and Christopher Newport University. And I picked Hampden-Sydney mainly because it was my cheapest option. And the only reason why it was my cheapest option was because I had a ton of academics and a bunch of extracurricular activities. So I did something called Boys State, which is a bit complicated to go into, but I'm sure if you like Google it, you'll figure it out. But basically, I did Boys State, and going into Hampden-Sydney, I got a $20,000 scholarship alone, $5,000 every year, 4 years, just for that. And then coming out of high school with a 3.8 GPA, I was able to get a ton of money in order to come here and be comfortable, especially with kind of the tuition that's over here. So once I chose kind of like Hampden-Sydney, Hampden-Sydney's like top 10 hardest school to get an A in, no matter what major you are. And I myself am a theater major. So all these guys here, I mean, they work hard. I mean, even if we have like a 50% acceptance rate, we had the biggest freshman class coming in my freshman year of college. We had about 362 students in my freshman year. I think it got down to about 280 after the first semester of my freshman year. So sometimes this school ain't good for everybody. But again, going into kind of building those small habits that transition from high school to college is definitely a hard thing to do. But I mean, it's the same aspect of when you went from elementary school to middle school, then middle school to high school. You've always had to kind of step it up. You had to step up that learning curve. That was the most important thing going into college. And it was definitely difficult, especially when you start right off the bat playing football. So going into my freshman year of college, I was about pushing like 400 pounds. I had gained about 60 pounds from my senior year of playing in high school. So I was about 385 pounds. And we had the conditioning test. So the conditioning test did not go well for me. I failed it. And I thought that kind of was it for me. I didn't think that I was going to play football anymore. I thought I was going to get cut. But luckily, the coaches here didn't give up on me. So I was able to play going into my freshman year at around 360 pounds. And that's when things started to click for me a little bit. That's when I started to kind of get like, okay, I can't just rely on just my like special ability to be able to play, to be able to lift. There's actually some work that needs to go behind it. Some work that I've kind of never had to think about before. So kind of going into that, my freshman year, I didn't get any really big accolades, but I was able to be kind of a dominant presence in there. We were able to play for the ODAC championship, and I was able to make a play in the game leading to the ODAC championship. So it was a must-win game. It was, let's say, our quarterback had got an interception, and we were going against Washington Lee, and Washington Lee got the interception at the 5-yard line. Right now we're playing a 4-3. So if you guys know, I'm a 2-eye, so I'm inside the shade of the guard. And before the game, the guard that I was on pretty much was telling some of the players that played with him that I wasn't a good player, that I was only good because I was big and I can't really move anybody. So basically, they decided to run up my gap on the 5-yard line, trying to get into the end zone. And this is the play that's going to decide the game whether we go to the ODAC championship. So this is why I was called Iron Mike, because we had a Bible verse. It's in Proverbs, pretty much like iron sharpens iron, just so as like a person can sharpen another person. And so basically, the linebacker behind me said that phrase, and so I took the guard and I pushed him so far back that he hit his own running back. The running back has to then go around his own guard, and then our linebacker ends up coming in, stripping the ball out, and we end up recovering the ball. We win the game, then we play in the ODAC championship. And so again, that's where it started to kind of click for me, that mental toughness, that starting to play when you're tired kind of thing. And so going off of that season, going into my sophomore year, during the summer, I was pushing a car, and the car was on its emergency brake, and we didn't know. So as I'm trying to like push it, and as I'm starting to get it moving, I figured I just need to give it kind of one good extra push, and I'll be good. But I ended up rupturing my Achilles in an effort to do that. So my Achilles ended up blowing up inside of my ankle. So I went to the emergency room that night. That's when I found out, and I think that was the worst state that I've ever been in my life. And I've been through some pretty bad states. And pretty much I really thought that I wasn't going to play football again. Because you hear it all the time with Achilles injuries. You'll never be the same. Like, you'll never get back from this. You'll never be able to lift the same weight, this, that, and the other. And this is coming off of like my ultimate like PR summer, where I had just squatted 675 pounds. I had just power clean 350 pounds. And my bench was getting up there. I think at that time it was like 350. Now it's like 415. But now I'm just like, okay, well, I just had this ultimate high, and now it's looking like that I'll never play football again. And so after I got the surgery, I kind of like told the coaches, and I was really just in a bad place. But then the people that were around me, but also once again, Coach Davis's philosophies that he taught me. And it's not that like any particular words would be in my head. It was just, again, those periodical lessons that would go from day to day that he would be teaching us, just stuck into my heart, kind of just stuck into my spirit. So it wasn't like any particular words that were going through my head. It was that mentality that you would always have to have around him if you were going to be on his team. And so I had to have that mentality if I wanted to continue living through my day-to-day. So when I finally got to campus my sophomore year, I had to do therapy. I was working out twice a day because at that point I was about 350 pounds. So I was working out twice a day, learning how to have healthier eating habits, learning how to have healthier weightlifting habits. So I mean, like, you're coming to me, like, I think the guys who lift at 6 a.m., I'm up at 5:45, I'm already in the gym before anyone else is doing their lift. I'm lifting on my own. No coaches around, no players around, nobody's around me. I'm just putting in the work myself while I'm still in a boot. And then I go off to therapy. After therapy, I do the second workout, mainly just to get some strength up in my leg after my therapy session. Then the weekends, I'm working out. Like, I mean, I'm doing probably 100 push-ups a day on one leg. I put my boot kind of like over my right leg, and I'm just doing push-ups, doing 100 push-ups a day. Just learning how to lift, learning how to be better. And that is when everything finally came together and everything finally clicked for me. And it wasn't like it wasn't like a one-day thing of like, oh, I finally get it now. It was just, again, periodically. day to day. Oh, okay, this makes sense, that makes sense, okay. And so the things that I probably didn't understand in high school that either my mom would tell me, Coach Davis would tell me, now I finally understand, coming from that dark place to now, okay, now I can finally kind of be the player that everyone believed that I could always be. So going into my junior year of college, with COVID and everything, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because it gave me an extra 4 months to get my leg right, to get my Achilles right, so that I can get ready to play. Because this time, instead of a 4-3, because of the kind of player that I am, we changed our whole defense with me being the focal point, playing in a 3-4. So you have a 0, and 2-5, or yeah. And so while we're getting ready for the season, and as I'm just kind of getting my leg right, again, I'm just mastering that mentality, that mental toughness that Coach Davis was always talking to me about. And so going into my junior year, again, we played for another championship again that year. And I mean, I played in a lot of big games, and that one was definitely hard to lose. But it kind of set everything up, and made me realize, okay, I can still play. I was definitely humbled. I mean, my first time kind of putting pads on in 2 years, first play, I just fall down. And it definitely took me a while to kind of build up the habits again of especially playing in the 0, playing as a defensive lineman, and having that power. And it was definitely a hard time because I was always afraid, like, oh no, what if like my right one tears, or what if this one like blows up again? And it definitely took me a while to kind of get over that fear. But not to sound like a broken record, but again, that mental toughness that I had to have. Then going into my senior year, I was playing at around, I guess I ranged from like 305 to like 315. I would just go up and down the scale. Didn't necessarily matter to me because I was still a good player. I was able to be second team all ODAC, which I'll digress. Felt like I deserved first team, but a lot of my accolades aren't on the stat sheet, so that's not kind of what I'm looking for. But again, I digress. But it's still a great honor to kind of get recognized for that, and especially with all that I've kind of been through. And it was definitely stuff that, but definitely dealing with stuff like that, and definitely trying to go into that. It was a hard thing for me to, I guess, push through, especially going into my senior year. And then after the season was over, I decided that I was going to return for a 5th year. And yeah, sorry about that, I was in my freshman, but going into my 5th year, now there's definitely a lot of stuff that now I understand. I wouldn't say I understand it perfectly. I probably just need more experience. But now going to my 5th year, I'm about to be captain of the football team. So imagine going from like failing the conditioning test, almost being 400 pounds, to now you're kind of in the best shape of your life, expected to be a first ODAC player, and now you're about to be captain of the football team. And so, again, those little things that you do day to day as you're with Coach Davis, or when you're in the classroom, or you're at home, and you have to have that personal conviction. Those little things day to day, they add up. They add up to where I am now. And I couldn't really be prouder of myself. To be honest, I don't like to toot my own horn. I like to stay humble, but there are some points in your life where you have to give yourself credit, because life is hard. I did not have an easy life growing up, and Coach Davis can attest to that. Like, sometimes I couldn't afford shoes, Coach Davis would get them for me. I mean, sometimes I would squat out of my shorts where I would squat so much weight my shorts would rip. He took me to Dick's, got me some more shorts, got me some more clothes and everything like that, just because I couldn't afford them. So, like, going through all the stuff that I went through in life, there was a much darker path that I could have gone down if it weren't for Coach Davis, if it weren't for football, if it weren't for the weight room. So, like, I probably would not be on this earth right now if it wasn't for football, if it wasn't for Coach Davis, if it wasn't for learning those little lessons, right? And I mean, even going to without football, just learning school. I mean, the change that I had to go through from my senior year of high school to my freshman year of college was insane, especially at a school like this. You're all going to go through it if you choose to go to college. You have to get your academics right. You have to be on top of your academics no matter what you're doing. Academics have to come first because you can't play if you have if you have 1.8. You can't play if you're not able to get on class on time, you know? So you have to take those things seriously, even if it can get annoying at times. Like sometimes I'll get annoyed in class, like, oh, I don't feel like going to class today. I still gotta get up and go because that's my avenue to continue to play. And so this might be my last year of playing. It really does depend. I mean, I'm probably gonna have a talk with an NFL coach soon, and I'm definitely talking to my dad, who's made it to the league. Granted, he went in the '80s, so it was a much different time period. But I'm talking to my dad, knowing things that I have to do, and so also having that opportunity presented to me gives me some extra motivation. But I'm just taking it one day at a time, and I'm definitely just looking at this like it's my last year so that I have that right drive, that right motivation. But what I'm looking to tell you guys is that the life that I have, some of you guys sitting right there, some of y'all probably have a harder life than I do. And some of you guys may have easier lives. But you see all of you guys sitting down together in that same room, you all have one thing in common, right? And the best thing that you guys can do right now is be there for each other. Because that's how I survived through my life, was having the people that were around me be better than who I was. And then when they were going through it, I had to be in a better state in order to help them. It's a great trade-off. But you got to make sure that you have the right people around you so that you can do the right things, right? And some of you guys, if you guys are looking to play in college, the best advice I can give you is know your worth and know what you want to do. Because even if you don't go D1, yeah, you can go D2. If you don't go D2, you can go D3. If you don't go D3, you can go JUCO, do whatever you need to do if you really want to play. But what I do want to say is find a place where not only can you play, but you will enjoy it there, enjoy the classes there, enjoy the area around there, enjoy the social life that you have around there. Because honestly, if you're there and you just have football, but you don't like your academics, you don't like your social life, I promise you're going to be miserable, and it's not going to work out for you, and you might lose your drive and love for the game. Right? And so when I chose to be here, it's a lot like my hometown in Ashland, where there's not much to do except eat. I mean, they have like a bowling alley. They just built a Starbucks. So, I mean, we're on the come up, I guess. But most of the time, I'm just here on campus. I live in a frat house. I live in a minority student union house. So, dealing with said things like racism on campus, I always have a blanket to fall back on. I have a group of people that are like me, that know what I go through on a day-to-day basis, so that I can continuously, continuously feel safe no matter where I am, you know? So it's always a good thing to have people around you that know what they're doing and everything like that. But what I want to leave you guys with, and what I'm going to say, is that, let me get in this room. Sorry, everyone's just going around today. But what I really want to say is have that patience. Learn those little things each day, no matter kind of like what Coach David is talking about. Take those things to heart. Because once again, you see me and you see where I am now. I didn't get here overnight. Once again, it was because of everyone around me. So learn how to set yourself around with the right people, and it'll all come together. But yeah, sorry for those little interruptions, but I hope that you guys kind of took what I said, kind of learned something. I'm not the greatest speaker in the world, but I hope that like there's something that you can take with you, that not even just take it with you today, take it with you years down the road that you remember some of the stuff I said. So I appreciate you guys listening to me though. Thank you.
Thanks, Big Mike. Anybody got any questions they want to ask you? Tell me a little bit about your TikTok fame or TikTok, whatever it's called, and then go ahead and tell them what your view of 10 years down the road, like I said before, other than hiring me as your agent and your PR director, what is it you're going to be doing in 10 years?
So with TikTok, I mean, it just started a year ago, where I just made a viral video. And I mean, I guess you guys see it all the time. Some guys make viral videos and then they do the same stuff kind of over and over again. They end up falling off, or they have one viral video and then they'll just never have another one for like months. And so luckily, kind of with my theater experience, and kind of studying through social media and kind of like seeing how it kind of like all works with the algorithm and everything like that, I was able to kind of play my cards right. I got really lucky, definitely, with some videos and learning which videos to like do. But I mean, obviously, it all started with like the Thunderfly thing, and it kind of just blew up from there. Learning how to play off my size in order to be funny. And I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that I had to deal with. Like, you had to deal with like a lot of racism on like whatever app. There's definitely a lot of people that wanted to see me fail and everything like that. So I had to learn how to hold myself like accountable. Had to learn how to hold my composure, because you see a lot of people, they lose their platform because they don't know how to hold their composure. They have their nose stuck in places where they shouldn't be, and it's really just not. Sometimes it just can't be a good time, and you really want to be able to have fun, especially if you're content creating. So learning how to deal with that was definitely the most important part, and I was surprised in how well I was able to handle having kind of that much of a platform, because it would be dishonest to say like I'm not famous, but I just don't feel that way, because when I put my phone down, I'm around everyone that knows me, and nobody that knows me is gonna like go crazy just because they see me every day. But definitely learning how to deal with that and learning how to deal with like those little, I guess, moments of fame. Again, came from those small lessons. And so right now I'm looking at getting a job at Warner Brothers, and not really doing full-time content creating, because I don't think that that's necessarily my passion. I think my real passion is just to deal with theater and to own my own theater, and be able to put on shows under my name and do that. But I do have like some connections in Atlanta, I'm working on some connections in Richmond and New York, and really trying to get into either the performance or management side. So when Coach David is my agent, he'll be looking for stuff around there. So hopefully I can trust him. We'll see.
What are you talking about trust? Good, nice. The Quad Father, is that what you said your best nickname is? The Quad Father?
Yes, there is. Yeah, it's in my bio. It's called the Quad Father.
The Quad Father. Y'all got any questions you want to ask Big Mike? We had 3 or 4 questions in first period. Anything you want to ask about his life, or about even TikTok or weight room or anything of the sort?
How old are you?
How old are you, Mike?
I'm 22 years old.
There's no way. There's no way.
So when you were a sophomore, you were
15?
hamstring to parallel 500-pound squat. Is that right? So we had
The hamstring. It was the 600 was hamstring.
600, and quad was 500. So you got, as a sophomore, he was squatting 500 pounds, quad parallel, hamstring parallel was 600. So the first period asked about deadlift, but you really don't. You say you only work out with 500 or less typically, right, for speed?
Yeah, I don't typically go above 500 just because it's such a weird lift to do for a football player, I guess, as opposed to, I guess, a power lifter. I mean, I'm sure I could do more, but 500 isn't too difficult for me, so I kind of just stick around there.
What was your favorite high school football memory? Do you have one of those?
Favorite high school football memory.
Did you go to Ferrum? Did you go to Ferrum?
Yeah. I think So my favorite high school memory would probably be going to Ferrum, and
Don't say anything. Don't give any things away now, because they ain't been to Ferrum. They're going this year. So don't be giving
okay.
stuff
So
away.
I will say this. So on the last day, you have to do a certain thing in order to get out of a certain something. And Coach Davis knows what I'm talking about. And so I went to the Ferrum camp for 2 years. I've never had to do that certain something because we were always so good at the thing that got us out of it. And I think my favorite one was
well, it's
when,
because of your background. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But you remember Derek?
Yeah.
He had a lot of chest hair. He put wind inside of his chest hair, and that really got us out of it. And I had to pretend to like be pregnant. It's hilarious. You guys are gonna love it. But I think that's one of my favorite memories.
Yeah. So we had some good times, and I'm just so proud of you because I saw, like you spoke of, I saw how many things you had to overcome, and I saw that many times you kind of given up on yourself, and you needed somebody. You didn't need somebody to say it's going to be okay. You need somebody to kick you in your tush, and you need to tell you that you need to get going because there's nobody in your life that's going to change your life other than you, and there's nobody around you that can hold those things to help you do that unless you're willing to take that help. And a lot of our guys in our room right now, especially post-COVID, you know, they struggle day to day. Everybody's struggling mentally to find the motivation to get up and do what they have to do in order to get what they want. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that. So you've obviously done a good job of setting goals. Do you think that's important for success, is to set goals and follow through?
Yeah, I definitely had to set a lot of goals even now because I have a cousin and he kind of gives me some advice. We kind of go back and forth. But the main thing he said was kind of set goals, not plan. Because you set a plan, once you get up to that, I guess there's going to be an area of, I guess, contentment. Which, I mean, yeah, you can be happy when you reach your set plan, when you reach your goal. But when you reach your goal, I want to set another one, right? I want to set another one even after that. I want to continue to keep pushing. And so that's what, I guess, definitely clicked for me after my Achilles injury, was it wasn't going to stop when I was going to be able to get in the boot. Because then I had to get into my shoes. Then I had to be able to run. Then I had to be able to play football. And then going to play football, okay, now I got to get better at that. Okay, now I got to get even better at this certain thing so that I can go to the next level, see if I can play on Sundays. You feel me? So, again, setting goals, again, is very important. I mean, again, it's going to be a thing that you're going to have to learn as you get older. It may seem kind of silly now, kind of what I'm saying, but again, 4 years down the road and you kind of like mature, like I said, I heard you guys like kind of mumble to yourself. I said I'm 22. Yeah, I know I look like I'm 30. It's okay. But again, kind of like 4 years down the road, it's going to be very important for you to kind of set goals, and you're gonna learn, but it's going to take time. But again, it's like it seemed like yesterday. That I had just met Coach Davis, and he was calling me a prima donna. That's how I was trying to run.
What was the other thing that follows prima donna?
He called his favorite phrase when I was in high school was calling people a prima donna turd. So
I never said that stuff.
He definitely said that he's gonna try to lie to you and say that he did. It's gonna slip out that. Now that I reminded him, it's gonna slip out one of these days.
Yeah, I never said that stuff. Never. Not like me. Anybody got any questions they want to ask? This room's a little quieter than the last.
I got one question about one TikTok you made. The maid outfit one. About that. Why?
Why?
Yeah, just why.
So that one, it's things that you gotta learn about, like content creating. Sometimes you gotta do stuff that I guess like people are kind of asking for it. So you gotta know what the people want. But also, I guess, comfortability also. And so learning how to be comfortable with that took a little bit of time. But after a while, I was just kind of ready for it. And at the end of the day, I mean, I had done, like, probably worse stuff, I guess, in terms of, like the maid dress or whatever. But, I mean, people tended to like it. I mean, you also had people that definitely, like, didn't like it. But at the end of the day, I guess it was just making people happy, and it's also just, you have to understand, it's just one aspect of my life that's highlighted, and not necessarily kind of like who I am, because that's just for entertainment. You feel me? And so sometimes you do stuff for like entertainment. I mean, you see like people like Tyler Perry or people like Robin Williams, who was like Mrs. Doubtfire. And so you see like those kind of things doing stuff for entertainment, but not necessarily for kind of like, I guess I can't exactly find the word. I guess like being like selfish and only doing it for me, as opposed to trying to bring laughs to people that are just kind of like scrolling through the phone because you never know what people are going through. Then all of a sudden you just see a big dude in a maid dress and you're just like, well, what the heck is this? But I mean, if I can just make some people laugh, like that's enough for me. And I mean, if I have to put on just like a maid dress in order to make people laugh, like I don't care, I'll do it.
Well, that's an image that I really want out of my head because I haven't seen it, so I'm not interested in much seeing that one.
I don't look too bad, and I might buy you.
Now you're delusional. I know doggone well you don't look good in no maid dress. Ain't no way in the world. Criminal turd. Anybody else got anything they want to ask? Anything whatsoever. So, you know, as you persevered through all that stuff and you went through the doldrums, when you went through the down times, what was the self-talk? You know, when you talked to yourself, how'd you get out of it? Because these guys are going through it at times, whether it be about relationships or whether it be about the weight room or sports or academics or family. What was your self-talk like? How'd you change the self-talk?
It definitely took a long while, especially after my Achilles injury. Again, I was just kind of loathing in myself. I wasn't really talking to anybody. And it was a lot of self-doubt of, I'll never get out of this, I'll never be able to play again, this, that, and the other. And I have, like Coach Davis said, a lot of my friends who are around me, a lot of them don't tell me like, oh, it's all gonna be okay, Mike, you'll be okay, Mike. A lot of them kind of kick me on behind and be like, okay, well, get up, because we know that you're stronger than this. And so having friends that kind of believed in me kind of helped change my mindset a little bit. But once again, you're always gonna have those times you're gonna doubt yourself. But it really depends on like, okay, am I gonna get better by continuing to doubt myself? Or am I gonna think, well, 3 months from now, I can be in a place where I wanna be, but if I keep talking down on myself, I'm gonna be like, oh, okay, well, it's been 3 months and I'm still not where I'm supposed to be. I might as well just keep like loathing in self-pity or whatever. And there was a period of time where I'm just like, I gotta stop feeling sorry for myself. Yeah, it's good to have those kind of moments of sadness, kind of like let out a cry every now and then, kind of feel your emotions and feel yourself. But there has to be a period of time where you're gonna have to kind of get out of that. You can't be in a period of, I guess, self-loathing forever. Like for me, for example, like I suffer from extreme depression and anxiety. That's from like the trauma that I've had during my childhood. And I have to take medication for it. But medication only goes but so far. There are things that I have to do and mindsets that I have to recognize that through my own mental strength, I have to get out of, right? So it's not just like something where something happens and then I'm just like sad. This is like a condition, a mental condition that I have to work through every single day, that I've had to work through since I've been in high school. So it wasn't a matter of like, I'll just be like sad for almost like no reason. Or I guess it just like felt that way. And then when you have something that makes you even more sad, it makes even that depression, it makes those emotions even more heightened. So then there's something more that I have to work through. But even when Coach Davis said like, no one can make a greater change to you than yourself, he means that. And it's very important because you can have all the people in the world telling you to get up. You can have all the people in the world telling you it's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself. And that's what I had to do. And that's what I continue to do the day to day. Like the young man asked me about like the majors videos. I mean, sure, there were a lot of people putting me down. There were a lot of people kind of like either putting me down or supporting me. But at the end of the day, I had to believe in myself and what I was doing. I had to have my morals in check. I had to be able to know, okay, well, do I really want to do this, or is it that like big of a deal? And it was a question that I kind of had to wrestle with for a little bit, especially when you're dealing with like millions of people every single day. And sometimes it can get to you. So again, I take like necessary breaks that I have to, this, that, and the other. But just not to sound like a broken record, but definitely the lessons that I learned through Coach Davis, and definitely the people that I had around me, definitely helped me with my mindset of getting out of kind of like the oh, woe is me kind of mindset. But at the end of the day, again, it started with me. And you see me now, and I was able to kind of get myself out of that, but it doesn't mean that I don't struggle, you know? And sometimes you're gonna slip up, you just gotta pick yourself up again.
Big Mike, I appreciate you taking the time, buddy, and I wish you well in all the things that you do, and I hope when you're coming down here to the beach, you'll come visit these guys, and it ain't but about 4 hours from you, so maybe you and Golson and a few others need to get in the car and come down and see us, but I know our guys would love to meet you, and then you can come show them up in the weight room too, so.
I don't mind that.
Well, please let me know if you need anything, and thanks again for taking this time, because we know you didn't have to. So I appreciate
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Well, buddy, you take care, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right.
Thank you,
Bye,
buddy.
Coach.
Bye-bye.